Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsor, Make Some Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now, you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials, and the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, and a bunch of them you have heard about on this very show. And they offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com, and right now they're running a promotion where the listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. And so that is Mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to get a 5% discount on that very first order you place with them. And I have with me legendary comic creator, writer, artist, Ben Dunn from Antarctic Press. So welcome back to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, it's always great to have you on. You've been on once, and we're going to be doing this a bunch more times after this, hopefully.
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
yeah, no, so a lot is going on with you and Arctic Press. You know, you guys are sort of, I guess, publishing a lot of indie comics and things coming out of Kickstarter. But before we get into all of that, what is the elevator pitch and everything that's going on, and what is the Antarctic Press? Nutshell, very simple, because I don't want to rehash everything we spoke about last time.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, Antarctic Press is a comic book publishing company. I started back in 1985, and we've been continually publishing comics since then, uninterrupted. And we're mostly focused on creator-owned material, but the company also develops its own IPs as well.
Yeah. And so you got a lot of stuff going on. And one of the things, before we get into sort of the business side of Antarctic Press and everything that's going on with that, is I do want to talk about how what I know you from and sort of my roots a little bit, which is Ninja High School. Because obviously I have the swimsuit edition books that you published out on Kickstarter that you sketched in. And so those came out a little while ago. And then I know issue 177 came out, and issue 178. And I know you took a bit of a break from doing Ninja High School, but what brought you back into getting back into Ninja High School and publishing those swimsuit editions and nice bounded copies, and now getting back into Diamond and getting into previews and all that stuff? Because it is nice that you're back doing that stuff, because I like that type of art.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, it really wasn't my decision to stop doing Ninja High School. The reason it stopped back in the early 2000s was that Diamond had implemented a minimum sales, and unfortunately, Ninja High School just didn't meet that threshold. You know, plus I had gotten married, and a lot of things were going on in my life, and so the book ended around 175, and and it just lay dormant until just recently when the Antarctic Press came back and asked me to restart Ninja High School, and I thought, okay, and went ahead and restarted it, continued the numbering, didn't go back to number one. I wanted to continue the series with the legacy numbering, and I've been doing it, and so hopefully I'm getting to this point now where I can actually start putting out the book on a regular basis, and continue doing the book.
And let's even talk a little bit about that, because you're not the only one that, obviously 2000 was a disaster with Diamond, hands down, with a bunch of comics, and a lot of people got screwed out of money. A lot of people who were, doing really well, missed opportunities, and books got dropped from them because the indie scene was not what it was back like it is today in 2000. And obviously the comic crash in the 90s and late 90s didn't help either. So obviously, what was that like in being now in this new environment where indie is the new hot thing out there?
Yeah.
And that's also possible because, I mean, Mix Some prints things, Comic Wellsprings prints things on the indie level, and a variety of other printers are out there as well. And everything is just so much more accessible, and it's actually cheaper to do it now.
Well, I mean the whole independent comic scene. I mean, started back in the '70s with the underground comics, '60s and '70s with underground comics. But they were mostly had very limited distribution. And they were mostly done in head shops or things places like that. But it wasn't until the direct market was born that independent comics can truly had come to being. And uh, distributors like Capital City, Heroes World, Diamond were all servicing the growing number of comic book stores that were popping up all over the place. You know, and at first they were just mostly focused on getting Marvels and DCs, and some other bigger independent comic book companies like Charlton and stuff to buy directly from the publisher. Now, the beauty of the buying directly from the publisher, as far as the publisher was concerned, was that unlike newsstand where you had returnables, there were no returnables on direct market. So this was a great thing for publishers because they could sell an X number of copies and they would get the money right up front. And that was how the direct market grew. So and then small publishers started popping up because they wanted to take advantage of the direct market. And of course, when the turtles hit, that was truly when the independent comic market was really born. And that paved the way for publishers to come in, do their own comic, and mostly black and white because color was still prohibitively expensive. And then that's what really got things going. Of course, the industry has always had hills and valleys, and it's never been sort of one of those steady businesses that you can always rely on, to make a living because it's unpredictable, and that's the thing. But if you have a good product and you're consistent, and you do your balance your books correctly, you can survive. I mean, AP is a good example of that. We've been in business since 1985, and believe me, in those 35 years we've been in business, we've seen companies rise and fall. I mean, companies with huge upfront, money and with big, I'm sure, dreams in their head and becoming the next comic book company to compete directly with Marvel and DC. And and so far, no one has done it.
I mean, it isn't the statistic that 90% of businesses fail in their first year. 90% of, I think, projects on Kickstarter, are not going to recoup their money back. And also, people stick around for maybe 3 to 5 years, but nobody, very few, I don't want to say nobody because obviously I'm speaking to you, you've been around for 35, but you're not the norm in the comic industry at this point. And I think it's very, there's a reason why I haven't created a comic book yet, because I have other financial responsibilities before I can go spend $4,500 on a comic book. And
It's a risk. I mean, there's no doubt about it, especially for a creator who's hasn't really been in the business for that long. But you know what? I tell this to every creator who's coming. You got to start somewhere. You got to take that first step because you just don't know that idea you have implanted in your head. It's going to be the next huge IP. But as long as it's in your head and not, you're not taking a chance on getting it out, you'll never know. You never know. I
so
always encourage creators to,
for me, what it is that I have to shore up certain things first before I can go take that risk, which I think is something that, some people are more risk tolerant than I am. And so that's why I haven't done it. And also, right now, there's a million things going on in my life as well that hopefully I'm going to get my Kickstarter up and running in the next week before that's somewhat comic related, before I go start a comic book. I like to deal with one project at a time as well.
Sure.
But even to talk a little bit more about Ninja High School, because obviously, part of the reason why I'm reaching out to you is that I was scrolling through Midtown Comics and boom, I see Ninja High School in previews. And I haven't seen that in forever. And I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest.
Well,
And
yeah.
it's a very weird thing for me being interviewing everybody and being like, oh man, your book's here. Oh, that person's book's over in there. And so what is that like for you, knowing your book's in previews? Obviously, Midtown Comics is a very big operation
Huh.
store. And
Well,
it's very cool for me to see it, and it must be awesome for you.
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's I feel honored any place is willing to carry Ninja High School on their shelves. The thing
It's
about
not
it,
just carrying it; it's in previews. It's
yes, and
for
preview.
them, so it's on their pull list. So that means everybody can get it cheaper.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I feel like Ninja High School is just one of those series that I just have. I have a love in my heart for it, and I just want to keep it going for as long as humanly possible because it's just one of those things that I really enjoy doing. I love comics. I love comics as a medium, and this is probably the most basic and best way to get ideas out in a visual format. And and I still got. I think the characters of Ninja High School still. Uh, I still have can be relevant even today. Because I just feel like it can change and evolve. That's one of the things I try to do with the series is that it can change with the times without actually changing the feel and the tone of the series.
And to even talk about that, because Ninja High School is very much an American manga type comic, and obviously you started this way back in the day, and I think Ninja High School is almost as old as I am at this point. And I don't say this to be, trying to date myself or being attacking. It's the idea though that I'm 28 and Ninja High School has been around for almost as long as I've been around. And a lot's happened in the world in 28 years. A lot's happened in the anime world. A lot's happened in the comic world. And this series has also had to grow and adapt. And what has that been like? Because it's a unique problem to have when you have a series that has gone on for so long. Even if there were 3, 4, 10-year hiatuses, it still is in effect continuing. And not many series get to do that and get to grow with their audience and also experience, massive change in the world around them. And also certain things that were okay, 25 years ago in comics are now not the norm practices, and certain things can't be done and certain things can be. And so what is that like for you as the creator and working on this book now to have that history in there?
Oh well, it's a hard that's a hard question to actually answer. I mean, I just feel like if a series is to grow. I mean, there's some comics that are timeless. I mean, you can read Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse, and but the difference is that they try to root their stories, in some sort of timelessness. It focuses on just story and character, by not trying to put too many things that are modern day or will be dated very quickly. And I'm trying to sort of do that approach with Ninja High School as well. There are always things about the human experience that will always be relevant. Today, tomorrow, 100 years from now. And I think if you focus on those elements, then you can create stories that are timeless and that will continue to resonate with people, years or decades down the line. So I try to create stories and characters that have a sense of, timelessness that people can easily identify with. Even people who are never read the series, before can easily pick up on the characteristics of each individual character and the storyline. I try to keep I try to keep it so that any new reader who wants to try it can easily get into it without having to read decades of back material. So I try to focus on just doing closed end stories and not one long, huge, epic.
Yeah, that's a big issue. I feel like nothing against DC or Marvel, but 50 issues of Batman is a big requirement for me. I like miniseries, And I like 4-issue miniseries because it's enough of a commitment for me to say, okay, I can invest my time into something, but I also know there's an end at the end of the tunnel. It's kind of like I'm right now really big into anime series that are 12 episodes
Mm-hmm.
because I have enough ground to play with and get interested, but I don't have to spend the next year and a half watching all of One Piece, for instance, that has over 1,000 episodes, because there's not an end at the end of the tunnel with that. You know, I'm right now watching a big series that's 50 episodes, and there's at least a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's a problem in comics, is that, you know, I think that there is a big shift. And as a reader, I won't really, if I know a series is going to be 12 issues, I'll tough it out. But also when money's tight, and, obviously for those who are interested, I just started a job. So I'm now getting a paycheck, but for the last few months, money's been really tight. And well, I don't want to go drop huge amounts of money knowing that I'm going to have to be invested for 50 issues. And so
Yeah.
I kind of like this approach. And I think it is more of that. And I think the industry as a whole has gone that way, where a lot more people are doing 60 pagers, and a lot more people are doing 72 pagers. A lot more people are doing what I do as called a mini graphic novel. And I don't think it's a graphic novel the same way, where it's 80 pages, it's nicely bound, but it's obviously more story. And it's also at a little bit of a higher price, but it's not at a graphic novel price. And so I'm curious how you think about that and what's going on with that, and why do you think that shift has changed and occurred?
Well, I mean, the idea of the comic book has certainly changed in the last 70 odd 80 plus years. I mean, it was meant to be disposable entertainment. I mean, it was priced so that anybody could afford it at any time and just pick it up on a whim. I mean, kids, it was mainly aimed at kids and their allowances. They were able to buy a 40 or 60 page comic for 10 cents, and they would have a whole afternoon worth of reading, for them to enjoy over and over and over again. I think the big change started, when inflation took over in the 70s, and publishers went all in on the direct market, and pretty much abandoning most of the newsstand market. The one advantage newsstand had was that you had, ubiquity everywhere. People could, comics were everywhere. You could go to a 7-Eleven, you could go to a grocery store or drugstore, and there would be comics. So people would be exposed to it. The thing is that when they abandoned the kids, okay, because in favor of the consistent reader who became older and more adult and had more disposable income, they focused on their focus on that. Probably became part of the death spiral of comics as we know it it's because it wasn't attracting any new readers, because they were not affordable anymore. It was no longer a entertainment that you can get on a whim for a kid. I mean, there aren't many kids. I mean, at least as far as I know, there aren't many kids carrying $5 in their pocket to buy a comic. And especially a comic, and that unfortunately has caused the new readers, not to become part of comics. So of course, there's a lot of competition for comics nowadays. You have video games. You have manga is coming in again, and internet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of distractions for
You
comics.
have a lot of stuff. I mean, you have HBO Max, you got Disney Plus in competition, you got WWE in competition, you got AEW. I mean, it's unbelievable that we are in a media oversaturation, hands down. I think it's a safe assumption to make that there is too much media, or there's never too much media, because we're having the best television era of all time.
Well,
Right?
I wouldn't say there's too much media. I think there's more competition for media. I mean,
There's, when I say there's too much, meaning that a
there's a lot of
person
choices.
cannot physically watch every top show out there
No,
right now.
no, you can't. But the thing
That's
about
what I
it
mean.
is that you can watch it any time. So if you
That's
wanted
true.
to check out a new series or a new thing, you don't have to watch it right away. You can go back later and watch it again because it'll be there. Unlike when we had broadcast, you had to be there at a certain time to watch that show, and if you missed it, you missed it. You couldn't watch it again unless it was in a rerun or they put it out on some sort of physical medium. See, the thing about now is that you have choice. I can go and watch a rerun of Gilligan's Island or I Dream of Jeannie, as well as the new episodes of Mandalorian or Netflix's Warrior Nun. So
Or the
it's
Book
just
of Boba Fett. That thing's going to be phenomenal. That thing is going to be amazing.
well, I'll reserve judgment until I see it, but
It will be great or it will be bad. It will not be in the middle. It will not be in the middle. It's like Space Jam 2. It's either great or it's bad. It's not in the
I could see it
middle.
in the middle. I actually could see it in the middle. I love Star Wars. I grew up with Star Wars. I was there. I was 13 years old when the movie came out, so I was there when it first came out, and it was an amazing experience. But now I'm much older, and so I have a love for Star Wars, but it's just one of those things where
No. It's all about the fact that the Jedi just did not accept you. That's what it's all about. I'm just saying, it's okay. It's okay. There's a fan club for this. We meet on Fridays under the Brooklyn Bridge as a support group. So I'm letting everybody know that that's where we're at. And then obviously with Ninja High School, because I want to move away from Ninja High School as much as I love Ninja High School. I wouldn't have bought these swimsuit editions from you on Kickstarter and get the sketchbooks in hardcover if I didn't love Ninja High School.
well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I really wanted her in a bikini though, so if I ever find you at a con, and I'm the guy who asks for that, you're gonna know it's me.
I look forward to it.
I'll pay you whatever you want. But
It'll be on me. Don't worry about it.
oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. And I'm actually looking for that Dan Mendoza book of one of the swimsuit editions. That book's a pain in the ass to track down. It's a pain. The others, though, the other swimsuit editions aren't that expensive. They're like $10 at the most. They're not hard to track down as far as finding like a very fine.
It just goes to show you that, if you give people an opportunity to create, then you never know who's going to be the next superstar. Small publishers, I think, have a reason to exist. And I think one of the reasons to exist is they open the doorway for creators to get published. At least it was back then. Now things have changed a lot with crowdfunding and the internet, and things like that. So it's there's a lot more opportunity for creators to get their stuff out there, as opposed to back in the day where you actually had to bring your portfolio, have it reviewed by an editor, and then only then would a publisher decide to go ahead and print your book.
It's very much now people can kick down their doors themselves. And it's very interesting because that's what I'm trying to do with my project. And I'm in the middle of just trying to fix and deal with Kickstarter. It's been rough, and well, I'm taking the day off, just taking a break from it, everybody who's interested. But it's very much I'm in control, where legitimately 10 years ago, this wouldn't even be a possibility. So it's so interesting with that. And then also part of my business is predicated on finding the next superstars. And if you go through my list in the last 3 years, there's been more people who are killing it right now on my show than ever before. So clearly very interesting. But is it 178 that's in previews, or is it 179 that's coming out in January or February?
It should be actually 184, 183 or 184.
Wow, I'm off. I'm clearly off. I didn't look at it before I went on it, sitting in my car in Midtown too. Which is really
no, I take that back. It's probably, you're right, probably around 179 or 180 because we just solicited 184.
I mean, I'm exhausted I legitimately just had my second week of work. I'm still getting accustomed to it, and I don't really need this today. I thought I was close. I'm like, oh,
well, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to somebody like Gold Digger, Fred Perry's Gold Digger.
We're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about that too because another 10 are coming.
300. It's coming up.
So to even talk about Gold Digger, because if I don't, this Niobe Comics people, they're they're already coming after me. Yeah, what you were sort of there when Gold Digger started, and
Yeah.
and you're sort of responsible for this, so I blame you.
Well, that's another example of a creator just wanting to get published. I mean, Fred's first work was in the Ninja High School Yearbook 1, and he was one of those guys who kept submitting over and over and over and over again, and we just didn't think any of the stuff he was sending us was any good until finally.
You were wrong.
Finally he sent us a submission that we actually liked, so we said, okay, let's publish it, and then what we were really most impressed by was his work ethic. He is a monster when it comes to drawing his own comic, and he just will not let anybody else do it. He just does it on his own, and then when he proposed Gold Digger to us, we said, okay, sure, let's give it a shot. We put it in Mangazine where it debuted, and then he was like one of the only artists on Mangazine who ever got his stuff in on time, and then we asked if he was willing to do a series, and he did, and he's been doing it ever since. I mean, he has done every single issue of Gold Digger by himself from day one. I mean, he's getting up to 300. I mean, that's a to me that's a huge testament to his abilities, because um, I can't think of any comic book creator who's been on the book for that long. I mean, and with doing everything, the writing, the penciling, the inking and lettering, everything. He does everything. So it's
Yeah.
to me quite an impressive feat.
So just to talk from my experience, I had J.S. Moore's on a little while ago, and he's on issue, I think, 9 of Autumn Gray, and he does everything. And it's I mean, he's getting maybe them out once every 6 months, once every 7 months in an issue, and let alone 300, which means that you either, and I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously Fred's not here to talk about this, but I would imagine that the first few issues, Fred wasn't making much money on this. That was supporting him. So this was some of these probably first issues were not paying the bills.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The first miniseries that we did, it was one of the lowest selling books we had ever done. But we liked him. He was very persistent. We thought that he had a good demeanor.
The point I'm trying to make is that he was probably doing Gold Digger in his night times when he was doing a job that was paying him in the daytime.
Yes,
Like,
he was committed to that series, no matter
so
what it was.
it's a very different mentality when you are going out there and you're treating this like a business and you're treating it like an entrepreneur journey. And I don't think people understand that unless you've actually done that. And it's a very interesting thing when you're committed and saying, hey, look, I work a 9 to 5, I come home, eat dinner, and then maybe from 9 to 12 at night, I'm working on my project, and then I go to bed 6 hours. I wake up, go hit the 9 to 5 again, and then repeat until this thing starts working.
Well, I mean, the main thing is that we, as Antarctic Press, we supported him. We made sure that he made enough to keep the book going, and he's been with us 30 plus years. I mean, he's never been to another publisher. He's never taken it to another publisher, and we treat him, like family. We make sure that he's well taken care of. We make sure that we provide. I mean, some creators are good at creating stuff, but not very good at business. And the thing is that you got to balance the two. The thing of the service we provide for Fred is that we handle his ability to create. He doesn't have to worry about soliciting his book or printing it or shipping it or anything. We handle all that stuff. So there is some usefulness for publishers to handle, the day-to-day grunge work of actually putting out a comic book. It's fine to be able to create without any worries, but it comes down to it takes a lot of work to actually put out a comic. But the beauty of it is now is that you can just go in, pop your book on the internet, and it could be potentially read by millions of people. The trick is is being able to monetize it. That to me is one of those elusive things that is still very tricky on the
It
internet.
goes even further than that, I feel, where it's not even the first tier monetization, which is putting it into a book. It's now selling prints of your characters. It's now building out metal cards. And it's also the whole product line, where it's the second tier monetization and the third tier monetization. And then understanding how that, because my discussion with comic creators is that a lot of people just want to create, because creating a book and writing it and drawing it is beyond difficult. I mean, I can't draw at all. I'm trying to write something and I've spent hours staring at a blank page saying, what the hell am I doing here? And I think every writer's been there. But it's the idea that I'm now understanding how complicated it is. I just went through my Kickstarter and building that out. That took like 20 hours for me. And you know what it is? I think that it's something that people go through, and I now understand. I respect people who do this before, but as somebody who just did it, I'm understanding how complicated it is. I'm understanding how difficult reward building is, and it is not easy. And I get it. The saying sometimes in life is that if somebody can solve your problem, you give them 20%, and they basically own 20% of a watermelon, and if they didn't come in, you'd only own an orange. The saying goes that way. So I don't have a problem with publishers at all. I think publishers are useful, and I think that but my entire discussion with a lot of comic creators is that they don't understand the business aspect of it as well as they need to, and it's complicated. I have a business mind, so
It is. The thing about crowdfunding is that not everyone is suited to handle the business. They may have a really interesting project and it could do very, very well, but then it comes to the point you have to actually fulfill it. You have to actually, finish the project, print it, and then send out the rewards to all your backers. And that's a lot of work. I mean, for a lot of creators, that's the kind of work that no one looks forward to, but it has to be done. And that's one of the things that is important for anybody who wants to build up a reputation for himself. You
speak
have
only
to
for
be.
yourself on that one, because I love operations and logistics. Like, if somebody wants to hire me to do all their fulfillment, I would love it. I love doing fulfillment on my eBay business. I love it.
And then you should offer your services. Find out the creators who can't stand doing it on their own, and would
I'll
rather
do it for
pay a
free or for
percentage.
exchange of books.
Well, maybe there's a market there, fulfillment. I mean, I know there are fulfillment centers. I don't do the kind of volume that I need to have, and I don't mind doing it because I've been doing it for years. Fulfilling the rewards because it doesn't take that much time. Of course, sometimes I'll hire somebody to help me, to do the scut work like, bagging and putting them in the envelopes and everything else, which is fine. I don't mind doing that if someone else is willing to do it. So, but in the end, that's really what it comes down to. You have to run a business just as well as being able to create if you want to be successful. The thing is that's the why a lot of creators went to work for publishers, because they don't want to do the business aspect of it. They just want to do the creative aspect. They want to create and get paid. And that's really what it comes down to. But we are in a ever evolving industry, and right now the American comic book market is withering. I mean, it's now. What I mean by withering, I think most mainstream, particularly Marvel and DC, are seeing shrinking sales. While independent comics are doing just fine because, independent comic is just you. You know how much you want to make to be successful. Enough to either have enough to live, but but still have to get a job, or get to the point where your creation actually makes you enough money where you can. That's all you have to do. But it takes time for that to happen. You have to be dedicated to it. You got to show that you. Why should people invest in your IP if you're not willing to invest yourself?
I mean, look at me with this entire show. I mean, I've been in podcasting for 8 years. This is the first year that I'm not losing money. It took me
Well,
8,
congratulations.
and it is beyond humbling.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think people understand. But again, my overhead is so low. It's just me. It's great. And so now when I'm actually, doing live reads and other things, my overhead is so low that I can be dirt cheap and still make money. And I
Absolutely.
can get clients and I can grow it. And then now it's going because my overhead, it costs me about $500 to run this project every year. So if I had employees, it would cost a lot more than that. And that's what's nice about this. And so it's very interesting. And speaking about dwindling sales, since you're the American manga guy, obviously manga is slaying dragons in the West. Or we're I mean, are we the West or are we the East? I always get this mixed up.
Well, it's a very interesting point because really, manga is really. I mean, you have to ask you why is it that manga is doing so well? I mean, it is really a question that we should be fundamentally asking as to why.
Because people like me have poisoned the minds of the generation behind
Oh
us.
no, I don't agree with that. I think that what it is that I mean, we are just as imaginative as anybody in the entire world. I mean, we can come up. I mean, look at independent comics. You can come up with the most outlandish and in a concept and make it work. Okay, now you have to understand manga is different in its way it handles itself. Okay, first,
I'm a manga gluten. Like I grew up reading manga before comics, so that's why I say it. This way I say it is that like I know all the good stuff dating back to the '50s. Like I'm that guy. Like I'm an Astro Boy guy.
the thing is that the manga, a lot of people have a sort of a misconception about how the manga industry actually works in Japan. Here, back in the old days when Marvel and DC ruled the roost, okay, they had editors who would go scout for new talent, and while dealing with the current talent, okay. The big difference is that in manga, the creators own what they create. Okay, that is one of the biggest difference, and manga has always been that way, always. Okay, not so with American comics. So what was the incentive for creators to really give out their best, other than just to get a paycheck? Okay, and the thing about the manga creators is that they also have a different attitude toward manga in Japan. Everybody reads manga, okay, because there are subject matters that will appeal to almost every demographic. Also, Japan is a small country. It's a very small country, so there aren't a lot of people who drive. They mostly everyone commutes or walk to their destination because everything's in their neighborhood. So the big difference is also manga is very, very cheap. It's very affordable. Okay.
Isn't it that when you go on the train that you could
Yes.
buy it at like the kiosk and then at the end of the day, just people throw it on their seat?
And absolutely. In fact, when I was in Japan, in the '90s, you could literally, at the end of a day of a train ride, you could literally come home with a handful of manga people just left behind. You wouldn't have to buy it. You could just pick it up right there that people had just abandoned because it was that disposable of an entertainment. Okay. Also, manga is handled by publishers, okay, who still distribute their book through newsstands. Now, some of them are becoming digital too as well, but it's that is their that's their model, and they stuck with it. There was no direct market in Japan. There are no comic shops. There's no price guide for manga back issues, and so there was no need to save them because they would just eventually be collected in small graphic novel, pocket size graphic novel form. Here, uh, I have to say the collector market has somewhat distorted the industry. Because now it's all about the collectability of a comic and not the content of the comic. One of the things that I really I really don't really care much for is slabbing a comic, because the whole idea of a comic is to read it and to enjoy it and to get something out of it. If you slab it, then uh, no one can ever touch it. And no one can ever handle it. It won't have that patina or the experience of actually looking at history, reading history. I predict there'll be come to a day where they will automatically just slab a comic with a great cover, and there'll be nothing in between it. I mean, how will anyone know if there's anything in between the covers? It will just be
I
blank.
mean, technically, it's probably already been done.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
There are blank open books by DC, like Draw Your Own Batman, that I guarantee you have been slabbed. I mean, it's not exactly what you said. It's the idea though that where it's kind of DC did it as a fun little thing, and it's a great idea that it's a Batman, draw Batman, right? And then it's predetermined panels. You have a Batman blank thing on it, and it's meant for like a 7-year-old. Here's your crayons, go have fun with it. Great idea, right?
Right.
I guarantee you somebody has got a commission on it and then just slabbed it. And so it's not purely blank, but it's pretty close to it.
Right.
And I'm sure that exists. I mean, I've had blank covers obviously done with commissions that I've had slabbed, but I don't really care about the value. It's a personal book.
Well, and not to also, coming back to manga, is that the thing about it here in the States is that we cherish individuality. We want to create things on our own. Now, we'll team up with somebody else, and say, well, either we'll team up with somebody and then we'll collaborate it on a thing. But in Japan, they have a huge market called Comic Cat, where uh, circles and groups of friends who like to draw, and they get together and they support each other. They talk to each other, things like that, and that's where publishers sometimes find up and coming creators. They can go to one place twice a year to look for talent. The talent has to go looking for the publisher. It's just the other way around. The publishers don't actually actively go out looking for. I mean, if there was a way here in the States where uh, talent could just coalesce and publishers just come in and look for it, I mean, it'd probably be a lot easier, for creators to be able to get published. But I mean, that's just the way things are, I suppose.
I think it's starting to change a little bit
Yeah.
with indie and a lot of stuff. And talking about that, I think this is a great thing. Talk about Patriotica is a good example of that, because I think that's Mount Olympus, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I love the series. I mean, I remember the when we first met the creator at San Diego Comic Con. We just simply asked, "Hey, would you want to be published by us?" And he said yes. And my feeling is that if you don't ask, you'll never know the answer. So, and I always also say the worst they can say is no, and then you just move on to something else. Don't hold anything against anybody. That's just the way business is. And and we're always looking for up and coming talent, because quite frankly, we ourselves experience that, and we want to give people the opportunity, to get your stuff in the comic stores. I mean, they don't need us really. Like you could just crowdfund your own project. It could be quite successful, and you'll be satisfied with that.
But I think that from their perspective, they do really well on Kickstarter, and they hit a really cool exclusive market, slabbing, unslabbing, speculation, not speculation. I mean, I like having comics that are like 1 of 50, and they're not slabbed. I just want it. And what I want it because it's like a status symbol to me. When I throw it up on Instagram, I'm like, I got this, and there's only 50 other people who have this book, and there's 500 who want it. You can't have it. It sounds selfish what I just described, but it's a cool club type mentality. And so I think though that with them being with you guys, being with Antarctic Press, they're getting more mainstream. They're getting into comic shops, and there is this issue where there's a bridge between Kickstarter and comic shops, because I know people who will not back a project on Kickstarter, but they'll be happy to pick up that same book that was on Kickstarter for the exact same price in a comic shop. And they just
Well,
don't want to back on
that's true.
Kickstarter.
You hit on something there because the thing about it is that Patriotic and Rags and Common America, those are all successful Kickstarters, and they could have just stayed there. Okay, but the good thing is that the project's already done. Okay, and they don't have to do any more work. They just have to hand it over to us, and we just basically do a second printing and get it into comic stores. And then that doesn't really affect their market, so much. It actually sort of expands it because people who may not have known about Common America because it was only on a crowdfunding site. It's different than seeing a comic book and a comic book store on the shelf as you walk past it. You can check it out, you can hold it, you can read it, and you can go through it and say, hey, I like this, I'm going to buy it.
And then also, what I like, what certain people do is they say, look, I just did a bunch of exclusive covers for Kickstarter. The only work I want to do now is making a different cover for the main run in a comic shop.
And they
Just
can do that.
And they can do that. Kickstarter backers.
And it's also to the crowdfunders, to the creators' benefit, is that when we put out a book of a project they've already completed, they've already shipped, okay, it's just gravy for them. Okay, it's just basically free money. They don't have to do any work other than just hand over the files. Okay, and then we do all the other work. We print it, we ship it, we solicit it, we do all that stuff, and then we just give them a royalty check. That's to them that to make extra money on work you've already done. I would think that's a win-win. We get a book that's out, we make a little bit, they make a little bit for something that's already you already put your effort into. That's to me, like I said, a win-win.
Yeah, no. I think it's very exciting. No pun intended for comedy.
It's true.
I've been waiting to use that joke forever. No, because obviously I like Patriotica, what I've read of it, and I'm not an expert on Patriotica by any stretch of the imagination. Whenever I can go pick up, and I missed a few of what they've done just because sometimes things don't come across my desk. Sometimes I'm broke, for lack of a better word.
That's another good thing is that usually when we do a comic book store version of a crowdfunding project, it's way less expensive. Usually
they're a little pricey on Kickstarter.
Well, when you're supporting a crowdfunding project, it usually you're doing it at a premium, and you're doing it mainly to support the creator. Okay, and the creator has to deliver on that aspect. The beauty of being able to get into comic stores is that we offer a lower cost alternative, to readers who want to try the book out, who can't afford the higher premium of a crowdfunding project.
Or sometimes what it is that I also view this as a second chance opportunity, meaning that I'm sure you've been there, I'm sure Niobe Comics has been there too, where sometimes at certain points in the year I obviously have more money than at other times in the year. Is there a bird on you?
Yeah, that's my
cat. It looked like okay. It looked. I couldn't see the cat's face, everybody. I just saw the tail, and it looked like a bird. And I'm like, oh my god, that'd be so dope. No, I'm serious. I had to say something. I'm sorry, but I also view it just as a second chance opportunity.
Yes,
to pick up a book, because sometimes in life I'm broke, and other times I have money, and it works out nicely. So that's kind of cool. And then
also, it also, you never know who's going to, pick up your book and say, hey, that's a great idea. I think it would make a good movie or streaming series or something else like that. Because right now, this is a huge boom in independent comics becoming, in other media. Back then, that was, you couldn't do it. It wasn't possible, or at least you couldn't be possible unless you had, a really good product that they would be interested in. Now, it seems like almost every other independent comic is being optioned for some TV series or a movie. You know, and
Oh
that's
my God,
great.
I
You
have
know,
my own thoughts on that. I'm happy everybody's getting their money, but I'm skeptical after Jupiter Legacies fail on Netflix. Yeah,
well,
I
yeah,
think the reason
you're right. You're right. I mean, once it gets out of your hands, it's probably not going to be the same thing that.
I'm a realist, and the way I view it is that look, some of this stuff that's being optioned is going to be amazing, and it's going to be the hottest stuff on the planet. But then others is going to be a big disappointment, just statistically.
Well,
I mean,
there is a big difference between being option and actually going into production. Big difference. Okay, an option simply means that somebody's interested enough to pay you to hold the rights to a certain property. It doesn't mean it'll ever see the light of day, you know. But when it goes into production, that's where the big money is. Okay, because once it goes into production and people are serious about actually getting it, done, then that's where your big money is going to come.
I'm also still raw from Why the Last Man, so yeah. Yeah,
Well,
there's reason to be very, very
well,
concerned.
like I said, once it gets out of your hands, it's pretty, unless you have a lot of pull or it's in your contract, uh, it's pretty much not going to be yours. Okay.
Except Happy was phenomenal. So that's for you. That's for you, Larry. That's for you. Um, so I thought Happy was really well done, and I was very thrilled about that entire thing. I was also very, worried about how I was going to go out, and they did a better job than I could have ever imagined. But
Right.
anyway, I want to get out of options before I get you and me both in trouble. Your Hollywood career is going to end. Mine's not going to begin. And clearly, we're going to have to go create a whole press division ourselves if we go down this route. But I do want to talk about exciting comics because I view this very similar to how I view heavy metal, where it is very much a sampler that provides a variety of different stories that may or may not thrive on their own, but it's also giving people a taste of a little bit of everything in it. And I think it's a very cool concept because I have a problem as a consumer where I've read all the top comic books that you're supposed to read and all the graphic novels, and I have a hard time figuring out what should I pick up next.
No.
And it's an issue for me. And, unfortunately, I'm at that stage where I read so much stuff that I need sort of somebody to say, hey, here's 7 ideas. These are going to all eventually get out into their own titles in the next 6 months. I'm just going to give you a taste of each of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always loved the anthology format. I mean, even in manga in Japan, it's all anthology, and the reason they do anthologies, they want to be able to give people a little taste of everything and see which one stands out, and when you commit to a full series, then that series, survives or thrives or fails simply on that one's concept. With an anthology, you can decide which you like, and you can try several things. And also gives creators an opportunity, I mean, gives publishers an opportunity to give creators a chance to get their work out there without committing to a very expensive and long-term thing like a series. If something breaks out and people like it, then we can say, okay, well, people like this story enough to justify going full series, and then hopefully it'll take off. But it got its opportunity to test the market first before it actually went out there. In fact, uh, a lot of series, a lot of big series started off in anthologies, like The Crow, and uh, things like that.
A lot of top artists
Yeah,
started out in very small things. I mean, Simon Basley, those who don't know, was a heavy metal, almost a heavy metal original
sure.
way back in the day. And so a lot of people have cut their teeth in heavy metal. And Tim Seeley is right now, I think, the editor at Heavy Metal. And he started out there too. So it's not just a story standpoint, it's also a cutting ground. And a lot of writers as well. And I think they're very important because sometimes people just need an opportunity, you know. It,
Absolutely. It's all about opportunity. Okay. The thing is that, I can only do so much. You have to do the creating, but once you've done the creating and you feel like you've done something really good, all we do is provide you the opportunity. Now, of course, you can do it yourself now, and it's not as difficult. Uh, I mean, we're not as necessary as we were in the old days, but we still serve a function, and there is something, there's something about seeing your comic book on a comic book shelf. It's very, visceral and very, fills you up with a certain amount of pride, that you've done something, that is out there in the market, and and that people can actually see and hold and touch and read. Because really, why do we even create comics? What's the motivation for anybody to want to do something like a comic book? Okay, I mean, why is it? Why do people want to do it? It's probably because they have some sort of story to tell that they want to get off their chest, and be able to share it with as large amount of people as they possibly can. Now if you happen to come across something that hits and you become independently wealthy, then that's great. I want every comic book creator to be independently wealthy. I think they deserve it. If they put in the hard work for it. But you have to do it. You just simply have to do it. Like I said, it does you no good if it's locked in your head.
yeah, let's talk about what's going on with that because the one book that's going on with it, and obviously I met Larry after our first interview, and I was trying to get Larry for like a year on my show, and then obviously he was on about 10 weeks ago, which is crazy. I mean, it was 10 weeks ago, and
Right.
it feels like years ago at this point. Um, but obviously, Niobe is in exciting comics, and I think it's being sort of teased out. And obviously, I think Niobe is going to get its own series at some point with you guys. I don't know where it's starting because the Niobe timeline, and me and Larry spoke about this, is there's content and then it sort of got rebooted purposely, I think, with intended of a deal and with Antarctic Press. And so obviously though, what is that like finding talent and also having this in there because obviously Niobe is growing as a IP and it's a very
Well,
interesting comic.
Larry is a very vivacious person. I mean, the thing about it is that I can't really. I mean, I really can't do anything to, get people to actually do something. The thing was is he did it. And he was very persistent. He was very nice, very friendly, and professional. He didn't have the expectation that I would automatically accept his work. And I know that I know rejection is a very hard thing to take, and I understand but it's part of life. You can have to expect some rejection. And
Kickstarter. I'm not taking it,
but the Kickstarter is also a crapshoot. You don't know if your project is going to be funded.
Oh, we're not even at the funding level. We're at the approval level. Like, this is where the rejection's happening, okay? We're not even at the free market saying, hey, no thank you. We're at Kickstarter not approving it level. And I'm like...
Yeah, but, I liked Niobe. I thought it was a great... and the thing about it was that I could take a chance with it because Exciting Comics was an anthology title. If the only option I had was to give it its own series, then I would probably be a little hesitant because I would not know the history of the character or the series, and how well it would do. But by putting it in Exciting Comics, I was able to take a chance because the thing about a book like Exciting Comics that comes out on a monthly regular basis is that people expect it to be there on the shelves on a monthly regular basis. And continuity, for lack of a better term, is important to people who you want to get into the habit of buying your book. You want to get them used to knowing that every month they're going to see a book there that they've been expecting. So if you're an exciting comics fan and know that every month it's going to be there, then you get into the habit of getting the book, and hopefully you'll share that experience with other readers, and hopefully they will become part of our readership.
Isn't it also the fact, though, that it is an anthology and there's other things around it? So if it doesn't hit the mark, for lack of a better word, and I think Niobe definitely hits the mark, what I've read of it, I thoroughly enjoy Niobe. But it's the idea that you have other things that could lean on it where it's not the full center on the book and
Right.
that one story. And so the risk is diluted across other projects. And
Right.
obviously, you have other projects and excited comics that can help carry it over where somebody might say, hey, I don't know what Niobe is, but they know that they're coming to that book for the next installation of
Well, I mean,
story Y.
the fact is, Niobe proved to be popular enough that we are giving its own series. So it's quite possible to uh, break out of the anthology and get its own book, and it's not impossible. And it's certainly it's all a matter of whether or not you're dedicated to your particular IP. And that's really what it comes down to. If you want to have a successful IP, you've got to put in the work and you have to dedicate yourself to it. People will gravitate towards something that you put your heart and soul into. If it's just a cash grab, people will see it for what it is. I mean, they may get it to try it out, but if it doesn't resonate with them, then chances are they're probably not going to support in the future.
Yeah, I think authenticity matters. I think that there's been a massive shift. I don't know how many people are really into cosplayers, but it used to be with places like Hot Topic where they wanted you to have 1 million followers and then you got endorsement deals from them. And during the middle of COVID, they had a change where they started supporting a lot of cosplayers with less than 25,000 followers on Instagram, but had really high engagement rates and they started offering them deals. And I know some of them, and it's not like they're making millions of dollars, but they're making real money for the first time with some of these deals and paid sponsorships and endorsement deals. And there's been a real shift that I think has happened in society in the last 18 months, and it's very interesting with what's going on.
Yeah. Well,
Talk
the old saying that fame is fleeting. It's just the thing about it is that we look for the long term. Okay, we're not the flashiest, comic book company. We're certainly not the biggest. We certainly aren't the hottest, comic book company. But uh, we like to think that we're just slow and steady. We know what we like. We're dedicated to it. We like to build trust. Okay, we like to build relationships. Okay, I mean, I don't look at creators as just something to exploit. And just say, oh, what have you done for me lately? Type attitude. No,
what I do with Larry all the time.
we reward dedication. We reward loyalty, and we reward hard work. Okay, those are things that I think any starting creator needs to be able to grasp. Someone once told me when I was very young, I had a professional uh, tell me that there are three things you need if you want to succeed in the comic industry. You have two of these three things. You have to be professional, you have to be timely, and you have to be a nice guy. Okay, if you have any two of those things, you'll probably do pretty good for yourself. Okay, so we're not in it just to be flashy or to try to make as much money as humanly possible. Though that'd be nice, but the fact of the matter is that we try to balance our books. We try not to do too many books that lose money, because really in the end we're a business and we have to make a profit. And you don't make a profit if you put out books that don't sell. So that's really what it comes down to. And you have to have that attitude. I mean, it's great to be able to create, but you want to be able to make money off of it. I mean, that's really the only reason for you to be in the comics. Otherwise, you can just draw all day long and not to worry about anything. if money is not your primary pursuit. You know, I mean, that's just the fact of life. If you want your thing, nothing says more about a project than how much money it makes. People pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you start becoming a business because my objective with what I'm doing now is obviously to get advertisers and make money. But the only way I feel that I make money is if I produce a good product and that people are engaged. And that my first priority is it's very divided because I want to create a better product than everybody else out there. And I want to create the best product for myself, for my listeners, and I want to provide, entertainment, and then also I think the money will follow naturally.
Well, I mean, yes, it's important that you have a good product, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of uh, crowdfunding projects are being supported because they just want to support the creator. It doesn't matter really what the creator does, but if it's something, if it's somebody they know and like, they'll
It's
support them. Now, if it's somebody they don't know, then you have to build their trust. By if you do a project and it's a good idea and people like it and they support you, it's up to you to maintain their trust. Get your book out on time. Ship your book.
there's gonna be so in my world with just to give insight into everything that what my Kickstarter is going to be on. It's going to be on people who know me who say, "Hey, you've had me on a bunch of times. You always support my projects, and I want to return the favor." So that's really the first tier.
But they're not. I mean, you may have a great project, okay, and you may be able to ship it out on time. But if you're a jerk, okay, they may not support your next project. Okay, so the thing about it is that
Are you telling me something, Ben, about my personality?
it counts. Believe it or not, it counts for a lot. I mean, if you don't keep people updated on your project, if you are confrontational or ignore them, okay, they will remember that. Okay, they will not forget. They know how they felt and how they were treated.
I'm not going to say who it is. There's about 5 projects I've backed on Kickstarter that have not updated, have ignored me, and they are massively late. And I get there are problems in the Kickstarter world. Don't get me wrong. I'm very understanding of that.
And will you support them if they do another project?
I wasn't going to support them for the 3rd time, but I was sort of looped in because it was a trilogy series, and it doesn't make sense now to complete the trilogy, but not. I'm going to be taking like a year break. I'm really upset, and I would rather go back your project, who's actually nice to me, or go back Niobe Comics or Larry's project.
Once you violate that trust, it's very hard to win it back. Okay, I mean that's the simple fact of the matter is, and it's also it costs nothing to be nice, okay, but it can cost you a lot if you're nasty. Okay, so it really you have to decide what's it worth to you.
I mean, in the comic world, I have a few enemies, no question about it. And the reason why I have enemies, and if people go around and actually, it's pretty common who I don't like.
You have enemies? I don't believe it.
But there were lines that were crossed on a professional level.
Right.
And it wasn't a personal thing, meaning that it wasn't a violation of trust. It was coming into and knocking on my door and yelling at me and like ringing my doorbell, coming into my house and doing it is a good way.
I really wouldn't say they were enemies. I probably would say they're just rivals.
No. They crossed the line of professionalism.
Okay.
That shouldn't have happened. And
he must pay the price.
They're never going to get a contract at DC Marvel or any company that I have associations with. So that's the end of that. There's a list that certain people have to avoid like the plague. And they know other people, and then they know other people, and then there you go. I know how to hurt people the right way. And then if that doesn't work, my friend runs a flower shop. So there you go.
Can't go wrong with that. That's for sure.
He does a very clean business. The weddings he does, gotta say.
No doubt. No doubt. And the beauty of a flower shop is eventually your product dies and they have to get more.
Exactly, exactly. And then we're not going to say any more about the flower shop. I don't want to have to testify, and you don't want to testify. So clearly,
Absolutely.
having said that, though, what I was saying about my Kickstarter is that I don't think I'm a jerk. If that's what you're implying, which I understand how you might think that.
It doesn't pay to be a jerk.
This face completely says it all.
Yeah, I mean, really, if someone is gruff or confrontational, you just have to take the attitude. Customer is always right. You just got to say, if I'm sorry you feel that way, I'll do whatever I can to make it right. And try to diffuse the situation as much as you can. That's to me the key to good customer relationship. And really, you want to build good customer relation because you want that customer to come back to buy your book over and over and over again.
So I'll give my 3 tips how to get me as a customer on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And Larry's doing one of them right now. So Larry's been commenting in this entire chat, and I've been bringing stuff up, that he obviously, and he thanks you and me for shouting out Niobe and all that stuff. So obviously, if you go and actually comment in my live streams or my podcasts, chances are I'm more likely to back your book. Chances are if you actually say hello to me every once in a while on Facebook, I'm more likely to back your book.
Sure.
If you say, hey, what's going on, man? Yo, I saw your Facebook status. You okay? Like when I say, oh, man, I'm exhausted, or Kickstarter is being difficult with me. So he says, yo, dude, it's going to work out. Chances are I'm going to go, it's not that hard. Or, if you booked my favorite cover artist, send me a DM before everybody else knows.
Right.
This way I know to back it, right?
Right.
So this is what I mean, in which that certain people I will back their projects because we have relationships and you've been nice to me and you've helped me out. And like Chuck Pino is a great example where I backed one book and then I couldn't afford the other. He's like, oh, dude, I got you covered. I'll just send you both. It's no skin off my back. You don't think when Bilal 3 comes out that I'm not going to be hustling that book and getting him at least 20 backers in my network? Of course I am, because you did me a solid when I was in a rough position.
Absolutely.
And that's how you get people, because now I have a network. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, this is basic stuff.
Well, you'd be surprised, how little, creators can deal with the public at large. I mean, one of the things that AP has, is very adamant about toward people who work for us is to avoid any discussion of politics or religion or any other hot topic, because there's no point or there's no reason for anybody to do that. Because
Star Wars Episode 8.
Yeah, I mean, you can give your opinion about stuff, but you can be nice about it. The thing about it is that we're a comic book company, and that should be our main focus, is to be a comic book company. Okay, I mean, you're allowed to have your opinions, of course. Okay, but just be prepared, for the consequences if you give the kind of opinion that may piss off, 50% of your audience. And I don't see what good that does anybody, who wants to try to get everybody. So
that's something that I get into this discussion with people, and I've been on a bunch of people's shows, and they say, hey, why are you on Rumble? Why are you on YouTube? And I say, because I want to be everywhere. It doesn't matter whoever has a platform, because guess what? There's people from every side, and not to get too political, that want to read and listen to this stuff and want to see it. So why wouldn't I want to be everywhere?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to saturate. You want to saturate. That's the thing, is that if you can be as many places as you can, get as many, eyeballs as you can, even a small percentage of that can translate into sales. And that's really what it really comes down to.
And so it's very, very interesting. Also, you at AP do one of my favorite books, Cat Shit 1.
Thank you.
Did you know why? the U.S.'s bunny rabbits. Do
Why?
you know why?
Why?
So in Japan,
I have no idea. I have no idea.
it's
I
called
guess it just
Usagi.
appealed to the creator, Motofumi. I mean,
So Motofumi made it because spell out Usagi.
USGI.
USAGI,
Yeah, yeah.
United States of America General Infantry, and that's why we're rabbits in cat shit line.
Oh, I guess that makes a lot of sense, actually.
It's one of the most brilliant things, and I do this panel and I talk about because I love military comics, and that's
Oh,
why
great.
cat shit one is that it's completely military. It's so perfect. It's so politically not correct. Not to get us in trouble, but it's not political. It's just that it's anthropomorphic and it really categorizes people really well. I mean, it
Well, see, that's the key. I mean, as long as the writings are good and the characters are well written, I mean, you can almost accept any situation. It's just that's really what it comes down to. You know, you can make a Vietnam War populated by rabbits and monkeys and bears and squirrels and stuff. You know, and it works because he dedicated his craft to making it as good as possible. You know, and making sure that people were entertained by it. You know, because that's really what it comes down to. Comic books are meant to entertain. You know, we are a disposable entertainment medium. You know, and that, I mean, really, if you really think about it, what is all entertainment is just something to take our troubles away for a couple of hours, and then if we achieve that uh, objective, then we've done our job.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and there's so many great titles. We can talk about Punchline, Rags, a bunch of other things that you guys do over at AP. Obviously, I got to mention Catch It One again because it's like my favorite thing.
Oh, good.
It's also one of the only things I could do at an anime con that has cursing in it that's acceptable. Because so I'll tell the story is that you could see that like when I pulled up everybody is not thrilled and like the people who are like attacking like I think one time like the assistant con director was there and then as soon as I played the 2000 anime thing everybody was just like oh my god like everybody was just like you didn't really do something good over here but this was really good over here I got away with it so obviously that's kind of why I like it too because it allows me to get away with certain things. But obviously, there's so much stuff that AP does. You got 5,000 things out there. There's a bunch of Ninja High School. A bunch of it's sold out too, which is crazy.
Oh,
Um, I need to get my hands on like an anthology of all of it. So
that
that's going to be a task in of itself.
well, it's a worthy task.
I will complete it, and when I do, you will be on for the third time. You'll probably be on before I complete it. Probably.
Absolutely.
And so obviously though I have a few more questions. So
Sure.
I am curious where you view the entire comic world going with Kickstarter and cons and COVID and everything that's happened because the last 22 months have changed everything. I think it's a safe assumption.
Yes.
And so I don't know which one you want to tackle first on that realm. But obviously a lot's changed in the industry. I am making money in podcasting for the first time. So that should give everybody an 8 years.
Congrats.
I'm going to count that as an accomplishment.
Absolutely, you should.
But all jokes aside, I am curious because I am not in the industry. I am commenting on it. I haven't produced a comic. I have my thoughts on it, but obviously you are a publisher. You have been doing this for 35 years and you've done more than I think most people that I've interviewed, minus people like Danny O'Neill, Chuck Dixon, Paul Levitz, Tom B. Falco, I think are really your peers at this point. Dennis Kitchen, Kevin Eastman, those are your peers in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, of course, I respect anybody in the publishing field, because it's a very difficult industry to really be successful in, and if you are successful in it, then that's a testament to your hard work. I really am I'm really surprised to be honest that we're still around. But we're just persistent that way. We just want to keep
You
going. We
beat the
just
odds.
keep
It's a good way to put it.
yeah. It's just, and there's plenty of opportunity for everyone if they just put their mind to it. I mean, things may be look dour now, but it's gonna swing back up.
So, how do you think things have changed with publishing in the last 22 months? Because obviously DC and Marvel have left Diamond, and
Well,
a
yeah.
lot of stuff has gotten shaken up a tremendous amount.
Well, a lot has happened. I'm sure a lot of comic book stores have shut down, but I think they're going to come back. And I also think that a lot of people I think are prematurely writing Diamond off. But Diamond is not a company that is going to just sit and die. They're going to adapt. They're going to change. They're going to refocus on other things. I don't know what they're going to do, but uh, any smart company will be able to find a new direction in order to stay alive. Now, uh, I'm not privy. I hope Diamond will be around because Diamond right now is the only game in town. As far well, I take that back. Diamond is one of the bigger games in town to distribute comics, but and they have a good system in place. They've been in business for very long time. So they know the ins and outs of the industry. To underestimate that would probably be to me a big mistake. Also, with crowdfunding now, almost anybody can get their project off the ground if they have a good project and people are willing to support it. That was not the case, just a couple of years ago. Now it's become almost, the go-to place if you want to get a project off the ground. So publishers are becoming, less relevant in that new environment.
And also, publishers are now becoming places like Scout or Second Sight Publishing, where somebody gets their project funded on Kickstarter, and then they want the publisher will come in and say, "Hey, look, we'll handle the secondary distribution of it
Yes,
into more mainstream."
yes, and that's one of the main things that we notice is changing. That Kickstarter and the crowdfunding sites allow us to see what projects have done well and make offers to the creators to see, hey, would you like to get your comic book into comic stores? Because Diamond still has the reins to the store. Now we have Penguin Press and Lunar Distribution, but they're mostly exclusive to Marvel and DC. So
There's a few others.
well, chances are, if you're distributing Marvel and DC, do you want other rival publishers to be competing against them?
Didn't somebody join Lunar as well? That's
Um,
sort of a
Maybe Dark Horse, I'm not sure. But,
or maybe Titan. I don't know. It's just another smaller company went with Lunar as well.
sure, sure. But do you think Lunar or Penguin is going to treat that publisher as well as they treat their premier publisher, Marvel and DC? Nah, I would not think so.
I think very few publishers, if they went with Lunar, would be.
But if they go to Diamond, okay, since they no longer have Marvel and DC, they're going to treat
Yeah.
whatever they can get much better, okay, because they have to hold on to them. They got to have
Oh,
product to sell.
without a doubt, Diamond needs Zenoscope. No question about it. They
Well,
need.
they probably need as many publishers as they can get.
They
Because
need.
the more exclusive material they have, and they'll probably want to foster publishers to create new IPs that will replace Marvel and DC.
Without a doubt, Diamond needs Zenoscope, and I know this because they have Diamond exclusive retailers every month with that.
And it's up to us as independent publishers to provide content
Yeah.
that Marvel and DC cannot. Okay, Marvel and DC. You think they would ever print something like Cat Shit One? No, they wouldn't.
You think they'll print a sexy ass eBass cover? Fuck no.
Because Marvel and DC are only concerned with their own IPs. Okay, they don't care about creators. Okay, they never have. Okay, they can do a lot of lip service saying that they do, but they will fight tooth and nail to hold on to their IPs or take the IPs from creators. That's why the independent market is going to explode.
So, I mean, you know what happened after the entire state with Jack Kirby, right?
Yes.
So what happened, for those who don't know, is that there's that litigation going on. It's going to be settled out of court. As soon as that thing dropped, Marvel went after several estates of other comic creators and started solidifying characters so this problem wouldn't come up again within hours of that lawsuit dropping. This is how insane it is. And that story was not reported on in any major thing, was not put in any comic groups. And the only reason why I know this is because I had Gamal Hennessy on and we were talking about this. So clearly, if you think that Marvel gives a damn about people, I don't know about DC so much, because right now DC is not on the hot seat per se, but Marvel made it crystal clear where they stand on the issue. I mean, the second you do what they did after the entire Jack Kirby's nephew estate thing, within hours of it dropping, it's crystal clear.
Well, I mean, to be fair, okay, Marvel and DC are owned by huge corporations, and I think before they were bought by
interest in both.
I think that they actually did care about their creators. Okay, but now it's all about the bottom line, because that's really the only reason they exist. They have to justify their existence. Okay, and anything that will cause them trouble or lose them money, they're going to take an active interest in. And unfortunately, the way that Marvel and DC are now handled is that they don't really, they're only concerned about how they can make as much money as they possibly can.
Hey, you know what it is? As long as they pay my dividends, I don't really care. I own a lot of AT&T stock.
Sure. I mean, you have every right to do that, of course, but you have to also think about how much is that going to cost in the long term, because
I'm not joking when I say this, meaning that AT&T is a much larger company than
well,
people.
Eventually, these characters are going to fall into the public domain. I mean, it's unavoidable. Okay, unless something happens with the law, they're all. That's why
where it gets tricky is that a copyright will eventually run out. The question becomes is that all these characters are trademarked, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer either, and I don't know anything about. All I know.
I go and speculate, but it's going to be very interesting when all this happens.
Right, there is a big difference between trademark and copyright, and then the thing about it is that that is probably why they're doing all these things to change up the characters so they can extend the use of those characters. Okay, and if they make up their own versions of their characters, then they have it for another 75, 100 years, and they can still keep using the name. But I mean, it would be nice, that if that would happen. But you know what? Why use those characters when you can make up your own and own it completely? I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be able to play around with other people.
I'll be honest. I don't want to read superhero stories anymore. They don't interest me. I'm bored with it.
See, I'm the opposite. I love superhero stories. But the thing about it is that I'm not getting the superhero stories that I grew up with or that I like, because they're not any fun. They're not fun anymore. That I always like the idea of a costume character going out, trying to expose an ideal, higher than normal, because and to protect people and to fight for truth and justice. Those are all great ideas. But look at My Hero Academia. That's basically a manga version of a superhero title.
And where did that come from? That came from Astro City, which came out of Super Folks.
Well, the creator basically said it's his version of the X-Men. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
But I love My Hero. My Hero is great.
But it's a superhero title. You
But,
know,
I guess what I mean is that this is my issue with like Batman now. So we have an arc of Batman. We find out what's going on. Then Batman, the next 4 issues, is down beaten. Has to figure out how to solve the problem. Has to go Court of the Owls. He gets trapped in a maze for 4 issues, and he comes back, and then he captures all of them in like 2 panels. It's like it doesn't work.
well,
Like
I mean, yeah, those are valid criticism. But then I ask you, well, what would you do if you had Batman? Okay, I mean, you can
I'll
complain all
tell you
you want
exactly what
about
I would
the
do.
story, okay, but if you're not satisfied with the way Batman is, make your own Batman. Write and draw a character that you think would be a better Batman. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You just
So
can't call it
so
Batman.
I think it's already been done though. I think Shadowhawk is a better Batman.
Well, then support Shadowhawk.
I do. It's
There
great.
you go.
I legitimately have like 5 copies of Shadowhawk.
Well, there
Oh,
you
it's
go. I
great.
mean,
He
there you
he
go. You see, that's
he
the thing.
says he gets infected with AIDS, and then says, "I'm gonna die soon, so I can't go pretend anymore." That the getting these people in jail, them spending 6 months in jail is not the answer. And he goes off and he just breaks their necks, and I'm like, "This is awesome."
Well, there you go. Okay,
This
so
is
someone did
awesome.
decide to take. You know what? I'm not happy with Batman. I'm going to do my own Batman and come up with Shadowhawk. You know, which you like. You know,
Oh,
so
it's great.
it's not impossible for you to take something that someone's already done and just improve upon it or do something better. There's nothing stopping you from
No,
doing
no,
it.
no. Before I ruin my chances with DC or Marvel, and possibly yours as well, unless we're way past that point. I mean, Image is going to hire us on
If
the
it's
spot.
good, yeah, I will take it under serious consideration.
I mean, Image is going to hire us on the spot, no question about it. They're calling for us to do Shadowhawk.
I
You'll
don't
draw it all,
know.
and they'll work on the
You
plot.
may have to get past Images Union if you want to get published there.
Hey, 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 we're joining. Don't worry.
There you go.
I didn't even read that article. I saw that article that you put up, and I didn't even read it. So I'm like, let's see how far this can go, right? Like,
I would be very I would be very interested in see how this turns out.
I mean, I would love just to be a spectator in seeing how all this plays out, like a
Well, we'll
fly on the
see.
wall.
We'll see. We'll see what happens because this is just the beginning.
I don't even know what's going on, so I really can't comment on it. I just know that like what is it, like 9 or like 10 creators are now
No,
saying,
it's not the creators; it's the staff.
"Oh, I didn't see again." I don't even know in which that.
There's no creators in a union. It's all the staff, the people who handle I assume the editorial work, you know, all the production and the printing and stuff like that. But as far as I know, it's not a union of creators.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah,
see again. I don't know
I'd
anything.
be fascinated to see how that turns out.
You know what is? I mean, look. I'm all for people being treated well, and obviously, if they're not getting paid what they should be, you
Well,
know.
my understanding it's not about the pay; it's about their ability to be able to pick and choose what projects they can create, what they can print.
Yeah. See, oh man, this is actually very interesting because if you're a creator and then Image is like, hey, we picked this up, and then this union says we're not going to print it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's basically what they want to have the ability to do, is to say that if this creator is problematic, then you cannot print this book.
but problematic becomes so subjective.
Well, yeah, you're right.
I mean, we all know certain things should not be printed. If somebody murdered somebody and they have to deal with Image and they're a convicted felon, I think that's a pretty clear cut case. And I think,
But what if the comic is a work of genius?
I think Image has a right to say, hey, yeah, you're a convicted felon and you did a great comic, but we don't want a part of it, right? I
They
think
have every right to do that, of course. Okay, of course they do. But my feeling is that but what if it's a fantastic comic book that could change people's minds? I mean, the thing is where do you separate the art from the artist?
It's a complicated question. I separate in which I speak to everybody on this show. And I don't just speak to comic people. I speak to people who are all views, and I disagree with a lot of people on a lot of issues, and even people who are more in line with my thoughts. I speak to them and we disagree. And it's a free form. Obviously I am very bullish on comic book investing, and a lot of people give me flack for it. I think the market's in a bubble, and I think it's going to fall apart sooner on the speculation market.
Well, I always say, if you buy what you love, who cares?
But I mean, I'm doing it as a business first. And
Oh, well, if you're doing it as a business, then, well, yeah, I guess you take a chance, just like buying stocks.
So what I'm doing is that I am anticipating in 2 years I'm going to be buying everything at 50 cents on the dollar that I sell today. I really think that's what's
sell now while it's still valuable.
That's what I'm doing, and I'm buying stock. So
I only buy comics. I collect comics because I love them, not because of any intrinsic value.
So I buy things because I like the art, and I know at some point if I keep them forever that they're going to be passed on to my kids, and maybe my kids will sell them because they may not care. Or maybe if I have kids, it'll pay for their college fund, and that's my gift to them. Which makes sense.
Yeah. It's always nice to see a book that you've bought go up in value, because it sort of gives you that feeling that I made a good choice, But in the end, what are comics? It's just paper, okay? And a paper with images on them. The only real value they really have is the value to entertain, and just simply wanting to own a comic just because it's because of just how rare it is or has a first appearance. I mean, really, what is it any good other than just being able to read it?
What it is, I think, is that it's just a speculation, and obviously there's a lot of stuff, and people are looking for alternative investing.
Oh, yeah, people are making money. I mean, I'm not faulting them from that.
I make good money on this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If people can make good money doing that, then that's great. Okay, I love that. It's the free market work. And no one's forcing them to pay that kind of money, for a comic. No one's forcing them. It's just, what they feel is perceived value of that particular comic, and that's fine. Okay, but for myself, I buy comics because I like to read them. And if they go up in value, then
so we're disagreeing to some degree. But again, this is where this union gets so interesting, right?
Sure.
Is that, at what point though? Because right now we're having a very subjective discussion. The objective fact in this is that comics are selling for a lot of money. That's the only objective fact in this entire thing. And
Sure.
What's going on with Image and the staff is that if you start gatekeeping, because I'm not a fan of gatekeeping, I believe you should let the market dictate everything. I think if Image says, hey, we'll print your book, but if you don't sell a certain amount of copies as per our contract, you're one and done. I think that's fine. I think that's a great policy. I also think that, Image could say, look, if you're a convicted felon and we're in the middle of printing your book, we're also one and done. But when you start saying, well, we don't really like the way you did this character and that you made a comment and Saga went too far and killed a certain character and we find it X, I just in BK Vaughn, we're not going to publish your book. Well, you know what it is at that point now, you're really getting into the weeds. So why don't you let the free market decide that entire thing? And I don't think the staff, who may or may not be writing comics, should do that.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm a firm believer of second chances. The thing about it is that there's no if somebody was a convicted felon, but he paid his debt to society and wants to do better by doing a comic book, I would give him that chance. Because
so I don't have a problem if they serve their debt beforehand and then they're out. Yeah. I think the problem is that, let's say I wrote a book, right? Mm-hmm. And I got a good Image, and then I went and killed somebody. and I was convicted in court, and the book's coming out next month. I
Sure.
think he has the right to say, we don't
That
want to.
that's you have every right not to publish it, of course. Okay,
Now,
that's
if
your
I,
part. But if it's a work of genius, okay, then you have to make a decision. Okay, would the world be better off with or without that book? Okay, you have to ask that question. Yeah, okay, maybe you committed a crime, but does that really take away from the work itself? Okay, I mean, if the work itself is something noteworthy and of significance, then I mean there's a lot of creators who've done bad things, but that doesn't distract from the fact that they've done tremendous works of art. Okay, I mean,
I mean,
if we were to convict every artist, okay, of some sort of infraction or some sort of crime in the perception of other people, then there would be very little art
that
today.
is true. That is
Okay,
true. I
we're
agree.
all human. We're all flawed. We
I
make
mean, I
mistakes.
this is such an interesting discussion, and maybe I'm going to be hosting a roundtable on this because I think this has to have a further discussion, and it's so interesting. And I don't have to answer to anybody right now, so that's why I could speak like this. And I don't think you really have to answer to anybody either. And we're not even. This isn't even that controversial in reality. It's really not. You know,
Right.
I think the free market's going to figure it out.
Sure. Absolutely. But like I said, it's one of those things that you have to decide for yourself whether or not to support. I mean, if I was a publisher putting out a book and then the creator did some horrendous crime, then it's up to the people to decide whether or not they want to buy that book or support it. Okay. I mean, the thing about it is that we can't. We're all human. We have flaws. We make mistakes. And the thing is we should be able to forgive people for their mistakes.
I'll give you a dynamic that's similar in my world, and I have no idea where I stand with it. Is that obviously there was the entire Funimation, Vic Manga, Chris Sabat, Monica Rial, and Jamie Marchi trial,
Mhm.
and I don't know if somebody said, "Hey, I'll come on your show and we'll talk about everything, and it'll be a no holds barred interview." If I would accept any of them to come on, and it's a real good question for me because all of them, in my opinion, are both innocent and guilty. And it gets very complicated because, well, all four of the people I mentioned are very talented individuals in the voice acting community. But at the same time, I'm also a business. I'm also saying, who am I going to alienate? Also, who is going to then respect me for going hard at this? And who's going to respect me for having a no holds bar interview? And what new fans am I going to get, and what new fans am I going to lose? And it's tricky, and this is a really interesting conversation with this. So
Sure.
it's so
Well,
super
I mean,
complicated.
you have to follow your own heart. Okay. I mean, the thing is that you have to decide for yourself. Okay, what am I doing? Is it right? Is it wrong? Okay, for based on my own beliefs. Okay, if you feel like you honestly feel that someone did something egregious, then of course you have every right to ignore him or or him or her, and that's your decision. Okay, where it comes down to is, are you going to go beyond that and try to destroy his means of making a living? Okay, try to destroy his livelihood, his try to, I mean, it's one thing to disagree with somebody and just simply not support him. It's another thing to go after him, okay, and make his life miserable. Okay, that's a whole different level. And that's where I think things are getting out of control. People feel that they have the right to go ahead and make other people's lives miserable simply because they don't agree with what they've done or who they are. I mean, how is that beneficial to anybody? Okay, I mean, we can disagree, okay, but we can live our.
I am the target of it. No question about it. People disagree with where I stand on certain issues. And people have tried to come after me and tried to cost me friendships with people. And my new solution to that is, and I'm very upfront about it, is that I believe in mutually assured destruction. And
Yeah, but all that does is devastate both sides. I mean, the best thing you can do, really, in my opinion, is ignore them. Okay, don't give them any ammunition at all whatsoever. Okay, if someone is coming after you, okay, the worst thing you can do is try to attack them back, I think, because all that does is antagonize them even further. I'm a firm believer of turning the other cheek. Okay, if someone wants to attack you, then okay, fine. Go ahead, wear yourself out. Okay, because it can only go so far. I mean, I'll still respect you as a human being, okay? Because I look at you as a human being, okay? And that's, to me, I think that's really vitally important if you want to, uh, you maintain relationships and to create trust. Because really, one of the things that we try very hard is to develop good relationships with people, and trying not to, try to look at it from their perspective. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
for most people, when there's issues, I mean, it takes a lot to get to that point, though, and it's very, very interesting. This is such an
sure.
interesting conversation because
Yeah,
I think
when you draw the line, when you have to defend yourself, of course, yes. If someone is coming at you physically to do you harm, you have every right to defend yourself, of course. Okay.
usually where these things come into effect is when somebody I feel has crossed the line, has started saying nasty things, and is saying it in front of a bunch of our mutual friends on the
Yeah.
internet. And then I have to politely say, hey, I'm not attacking you that way. I didn't be rude to you. And I have to make a public statement, not necessarily attacking. That's where that entire incident happened from.
Well, yes, I mean, but if you think about it, when they start attacking your reputation, when they start attacking your character, yes, the first reaction is either to attack back, or to defend yourself in some way. I mean, the thing is that I found that if you do that, you only, escalate the confrontation. Okay, I mean, it's when someone insults you, okay, just let it fall off your back like water on a duck. Okay, I mean, they're just words. Okay, people can insult you all the time. Okay, and try to besmirch your character, and yeah, it can affect you. If you're in a particular, especially if they're trying to cancel you by calling your employer and say, "Oh, yeah, did you know he's a Nazi?" Okay, or does he supported Trump? Did you know that? Okay, I mean, see, those are, to me, very little people. Okay, they have no concept of empathy. They have no concept of forgiveness. And they're just. I always found that people like that eventually, I believe in karma. I believe eventually people like that will get their own form of justice in some fashion. I mean, uh, I'm trying not to be too philosophical here because this is a comic.
I get it. I get it. In which that I
But
believe
but I
that
believe firmly in comic industry there needs to be more trust. Okay, there needs to be more forgiveness, and there needs to be, a focus on just creating entertaining
yeah,
comics. Okay, I think we're losing that focus. Okay, we're becoming too political.
I think yeah. I think the entire thing has become way too political, and I think it's not just comics. I think it's the entire country. When we look at this, I used to live in D.C. and now I'm obviously back in Connecticut, and D.C. has become very much a battleground, and it used to not be that way. And since I've been out of DC, I've been relatively more happy because, well, DC is a minefield to navigate, and it's a miserable town to live in. I love DC. I love my time in DC, but it is becoming more and more contentious,
Yeah,
and becoming contentious as a city. It's becoming contentious on the Hill. It's becoming contentious in the Senate. There's massive divides. Obviously, the White House is a disaster, and that's not to get political between the other parts of government. And it has nothing. It was the same. It started under Obama and went through Trump, and now it's through Joe Biden. It's not the president as a politician
Sure.
is the entire political system is disarrayed.
But
And
I would contend, okay, that why is that? Okay, people in this country can vote every 2 years in 4 years. Okay, the thing is that people you have to convince people your idea is better. Okay, you can do better, and you have the right to decide who your representative is going to be. And as long as people vote the way they do, that's the way it's going to be. The only way that'll change is that you change the mind of the voter. He decides that, okay, this isn't working. I'm not happy with what's going on. Maybe this other guy can do a better job. But
I
it's up
think
to that other guy to decide, to convince you that he can do a better job. Okay, at
And
least.
I think that's what's happening with comics, where the creators that I'm supporting now are people who I feel are doing a better job. They're communicating with me. And as I stated, there's about 4 creators who have agitated me now as a consumer, and you lost my business. But you didn't just lose my business, you lost my advocacy for you. And I'm not saying I'm a superstar, but I'm a podcast, I'm a business, and you lost where I don't want you on my show now.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been very easy for them to keep you happy by just treating you with respect, And the thing is that that's really what it comes down to. In order to earn trust, you've got to earn respect, And the thing about it is that, I'll be honest. I mean, a lot of creators are just not people, you know. Can they don't know how to control their ability to deal with people.
Well, this person should know how to do it. So, yeah,
You know,
I'll drop the name, and you'll know who it is in like 10 minutes.
well, I mean, the thing is that I love talking to people because I always want to hear what they have to say, what their opinions are, their backstories. I mean, sometimes I don't always agree with what they say, but
Oh,
I'm
you don't
always
agree with
treating them
me
with
and my
respect.
speculation, but that's fine.
Right, I treat you with respect. I'm not going to say, "Oh God, what a stupid idea! How do you
You could say it. I'm not going to
how
get
can you
offended.
ever believe in that?" No, I
If
mean,
you
there's a
do it,
reason.
I'll probably just
Now,
laugh, and then we would continue.
if if I don't agree with you with something, then I'll try to find a way. I will try to find why is it that I don't agree with you. Okay, I mean, the thing is that there's no reason for you to change my mind. It's like there's no reason for me to change your mind. You know, the only thing I have to do is convince you that uh, you like my product and you're willing to support it. Okay, and there's no reason for me to other than that. That's my primary objective. Yeah, if but if we got to know each other and we were sitting down and we were just talking to shooting the breeze, talking about stuff, then we can get to know each other on a more personal level. Then that's when things can become a little bit more challenging in terms of what we talk about. But as far as me as a publisher is concerned, all my focus should be is to create the best product I possibly can, and give it to you in a timely manner and affordable price. That's really what it comes down to, and that should be the main focus of almost any publisher or creator who wants to sell a book. They have to focus on the consumer, and that's really what it comes down. If you don't want to, if you want to put out a product that no one wants to buy, then you suffer that consequence.
My entire goal as a podcast is to say, hey, look, I'm just trying to give good interviews, have good discussions, and I'm not backing away from topics, and I'm having a blast doing it, and it's entertaining, and I think it is.
You're doing a great job, I have to say.
And this is all brand new to me, and apparently, I told the story about Mixum. I thought I blew my pitch to them, and apparently I didn't. So I must be doing something right.
Well, the thing is that the more you do it, the better you'll become. Okay, the fact of the matter is that it's just like anything. It's all about how much you do it and how well you do it. It's all about the practice.
Well, it was the first one I did, so. The story goes is that I called them up and I just said, hey, why don't we just talk on the phone? And I think that's what solidified it, because very few people are willing to say, hey, I'll call you up. Here's my number. When do you want to talk? And then I made them a pitch. I thought I bombed it. I said, cool, I'll just get the next one. And I just walked in with that attitude. And you know what it is? I gave them an offer. They countered me with a better offer. And then I was like, hey, Mom, what do I do now? And it's been going good since. So,
Absolutely.
Obviously, sometimes, I must have done something right. But I just went and said, hey, look, I'm probably going to bomb the first one. This is just practice to me. So there you go. But again, if I want to convince you on comic book investing, it's a very, very low bar. Wait, that's not a third rail issue.
Oh, I mean, I don't mind comic book investing. I just don't want to put in the effort, to be honest. I just, I love it when I'll be honest. I love it when books I buy go up in value, but that's great but what the only thing about is that I have to sell it. If I want to, the reason to even buy comics is so eventually for it to go up, and then you sell at a profit. That's what comic book investing is to me. It's not about the profit; it's about the enjoyment. And I love reading original comic books as they came out because to me it's like reading history. You're buying a book that was on a stand in 1966, at some grocery store, and you now have it in your hands and you're reading it. I mean, it's just it's like traveling back in time.
It's what happens is that I buy some books personally to sell. And then also there's offers that you just can't refuse.
Sure. So, you have your number and then you have your crazy number.
If you buy a book for $5 and then it's a $500 book, that's a hard thing to say. And then also there's books that you love, and then there's books that you're like, I don't like this book. I don't get why somebody's willing to pay $200 for it, but sure. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I am a different breed in that realm. I'm going to be building out the class teacher.
That's fine. If you're making an honest living, who am I to say?
I'm not making an honest living. I'm making a really good killing on it. I'll explain what I do. So what I do is that I buy a book, and then so if I buy a book for $20, I sell it for $60. eBay takes their percentage. I end up with $18 in profit. I then take that $18 and I put it into a dividend-producing stock. Then I kick forward what the book's cost was into a new one, and I just repeat the cycle. So now what I'm doing is that I'm basically mitigating risk, and I've built up a dividend portfolio in the stock market that gives me cash flow every month or every 2 months or every 3 months in certain stocks. And then that's how you build wealth. And so this is why I'm not complaining because I'm thrilled. And then what I really do is I buy 2 copies of the same book and I sell one and I keep one for myself. Or what I used to do before I was investing in the stock market is that I would buy 2 books of the same one. I would sell one and would pay for both of them. And now I'm at zero. And now I'm happy. The person's happy because I'm undercutting my competition. The book's sold out. Everybody's thrilled because I can afford to sell it at a cheaper position because if it pays for 80% of both books, I got no complaints because I got both books cheaper and I can provide a cheaper service. Everybody's happy. It's wonderful.
That's all that matters. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Okay. I mean, it's really, there's no point in going through life being miserable. So it's if you're happy, then that's great.
And then when my dividends come in, I'm also really happy. But that's every 2 months. Like a celebration. I got my AT&T dividend yesterday, so I got no complaints. I have enough shares that it actually is real money at this point. So having said that, without giving too much away, you all now know my political views.
Absolutely.
Which is not a secret. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out where I stand. I mean, I also belong to the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. We hold ceremonies under the Brooklyn Bridge every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we hold those ceremonies. Friday nights are for the Jedi Rejection Club under the Brooklyn Bridge. You're more than welcome to join us at any given point.
They take you up on that offer one of these days.
You just have to bring your own lightsaber and a cloak, and you'll be good to go.
I think I could probably swing that.
The more obscure color you bring, the higher brownie points you get. No. Having said all that, And for all those who would like to join, I'm not saying which part of the Brooklyn Bridge we're under, but that's a different discussion too.
The secret location, eh?
Under the Brooklyn Bridge, of course. It's like there's only so much ground under the Brooklyn Bridge. Is all I'm
Absolutely.
So there you go. And obviously, guys, go pick up Niobe Comics. I think it's on Indiegogo. If Larry, you want to drop your link in, I could flash it up really quickly. To Indiegogo, feel free to do that. But in the meanwhile, obviously, AP's done a lot of stuff. You've done a lot of stuff. I'm gonna go pick up preview. I think it was 183. Somebody said it might be on previews. So clearly, I don't know. You don't know. This is a problem.
Yeah, I've when you get to the point where the numbering, you just get confused by it. So he's just like, I've lost track.
So obviously there's a lot of stuff going on, but I have it in my Midtown Comics thing. So I'm gonna go add that to previews, and hopefully I'll remember to pick up as many of them as I can pick up in the next few months. I think it's what, January or February it's dropping, right?
I believe so.
Because previews is what, 2-3 months in advance.
I think 2 months in advance. Yeah.
So it better be good. It better be good.
I'll try my best.
Now, all jokes aside, we've been speaking for over 2 hours now. So I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. Obviously, we went through a lot of controversial stuff, and a lot of stuff that means we're not getting hired by DC or Marvel anytime soon. But just go on Shadowhawk, I'm telling you.
Absolutely. He's welcome anytime.
So, where can A people find you? Where can people support AP? Obviously, pick up a lot of books. I know Exciting Comics 17, I think, is dropping tomorrow.
All right.
Or next week. I'm not too sure which.
I don't really keep up with that stuff. AP is the one that does handle that stuff. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Tumblr. You can find me on Reddit and TikTok and all those other places. I have a Deviant art site under Dog Supreme, which has all my artwork if you want to check it out. And I edit Exciting, Jungle Comics, Planet Comics, and Manga Z. So if you are interested in submitting, I'm always open to looking at new projects. And feel free to submit. And I promise to write you back. I won't ignore you.
Maybe my first submission will be to you. Maybe.
Hey, bring it on, man. Bring it on.
I got a concept, but I don't want to talk about it on the air. So anyhow,
No problem.
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you should support AP, support everything you do. If you type your name in on AntarcticPress.com, Ben Dunn appears up there. So you can pick up all the stuff. There's a bunch of Ninja High School stuff that's still available. A lot of your stuff, though, is sold out, which is good.
Yeah.
I want your stuff to sell out, so you keep having to write and all that stuff. And you're doing something. You just wrapped up a Kickstarter as well that you were a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you're always doing something, and then I'm sure there's going to be some more Ninja High School stuff coming out on Kickstarter, hopefully in 2022.
You bet. That'll be the 35th anniversary.
So hopefully that'll be a nice bound book to put on your bookshelf.
Oh, heck yeah.
So obviously check all that stuff out. And then in the meanwhile, and I've been saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support indie comic people, mainstream comics, in between. I'm not too sure if there's a word for that, but obviously Ben has done so much in the comic industry.
Well, thank you.
Still doing stuff in the comic industry. He's not done. It's not done yet.
It's been done before.
Exactly. No pun intended. And we could rhyme that with your last name, but we're not going to continue this joke here.
I've heard it all, believe me.
I have like 20 more that I could go, but I'm not going to. And also I'm getting really tired. I'm my throat shot. So clearly, it's time for me to go to sleep.
Okay.
But all joking aside, you have to support comic creators because that is the way they pay their bills. This is their living. Also, is they want their work to be read. They want their work to be shared, and it goes a long way when somebody's like, "Oh man, I read Ninja High School, and I read it 20 years ago, and then I just saw it again, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It brought me back memories." and it goes a long way, and it's very
Absolutely.
helpful, to go do that. And obviously, people have to eat as well, and go do that. Also, following people on social media goes a long way, liking their Facebook page, joining Indie Comics, which I believe is your group, because that's a useful group that I post in way too much. I'm
Right.
posting every day, and you allow me to post. So hopefully you're not going to revoke that.
No way.
Because actually my content's relevant.
Absolutely, it is.
And it's not a shameless Kickstarter plug.
It can be. I don't mind.
I don't mind in my group either. I don't really care if people do it. In fact, I want people to do it. I will pay you to do it. we need the press here. There are people who do it, and I'm like, I got no problem with it. Just don't put an eBay link up there, and don't put porn in my group, and I'm good. I'm asking for the bare minimum, everybody in my Facebook group, Indie
Not
Comics.
an unreasonable request.
It's just 2 little things, and everything else is fine. Everything else is fine. You could tell me to go fuck myself, and I'll be fine with it. Legitimately, I will be fine with it.
All right, then.
In fact, I will probably laugh, and then I'll probably be like, "Thank you." But all jokes aside, you have to support indie content creators because it is so important, and support is not just money, it's also following on social media and all that stuff, and actually writing to someone, say, hey, I really enjoyed your book. It goes a long way. And then as far as I'm concerned, on my end, obviously I do have a sponsor. They are definitely helping covering costs to running this project, but running a podcast and running this takes a lot of work. And I do appreciate people liking it, sharing it out, telling their friends about it, liking my Facebook page, buy me a coffee, or just say, hey, really enjoyed the episode. It goes a long way for me. It really does. And, I also am launching potentially a Kickstarter at this point. We've gone from doing it to maybe doing it down to let's make it work to potential. It will be under Pop Anime Comics. So you can go, I think you could follow, you could like, I'm not too sure on Kickstarter, but I am Pop Anime Comics on Kickstarter, and you can go and check out what I'm doing there, and you'll be notified when the project is dropping. I supposedly have to just fix my digital bundle pack, which is 26 plus comics.
Wow.
So it's a big digital bundle pack. And so once I fix that, we're good to go, and it's really good value. And we're just trying to make sure that season 3 gets funded, the rest of season 3, and then season 4, and then some. And I got some cool stuff coming out, and I'll just let everybody know that one of the first stretch goals, it's the second stretch goal, is comic book theater. So that is going to be very cool. And I got some people lined up for it, and it's going to be a really good time once a month.
Sounds
so on that note, a lot of cool stuff's coming down the road for me. Again, like my Facebook page, Pop Anime Comics, like Ben Dunn stuff. Just type in Ben Dunn on Google, and you will be fine. Ben Dunn Comics, and something will pop up. I know this because I've done it legitimately 2.5 hours ago. So having said all that, I'm going to give you the final word.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, Andrew. Feel free to contact me anytime. And I want to thank all your listeners for their ear and listening. And just go on.
Particularly one, this guy named Niobe Comics.
Especially him.
I mean, you're going to go through all the comments. I think he was watching the entire time, so this is super cool. Seriously, go back, Larry's Niobe Comics stuff.
Absolutely. Back Niobe Comics. All right, I got to go now. I will see you later.
Awesome.
Take care, man.